So we're going to go ahead and get started because we have a packed agenda today. We have a couple big items. We have two presentations, one on some career exploration work that the board actually received a presentation on at their last board workshop. And remember, we've talked about the college part of what we are doing in the district. So remember, our goal is to prepare everyone for college and career. It's not one or the other, it's the same thing. And then we have a second presentation. It's not on your agenda, but we've talked a lot through these meetings throughout the year of additional topics for parent ed, and that's one of the things you'll see here. So parent university representatives are here to talk about that. And then everyone's done a great job and given us great feedback on items that they would like to see. And so you could, on your table, you have this document that have been collected. These ideas have been collected through a variety of forms from parents. And you remember today we have to vote. So what's going to happen is, and we'll talk about that later, but there's all these posters around the room and we're going to show you how to do this. So every parent group is going to vote. So this parent group is going to vote. Then CAAC will vote on May 8th, DLAC, DCAC, and so on. So individuals will have items to vote. And so remember, you only get 5 post-its, little dots here. So you're going to have to think to really use your 5 because there are 53 different items. Okay? Some of them don't cost money though. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And just reminder for the norms of the group, this is really an informational meeting for you. Today is one of those special days where we have 2 different topics. So this morning, we have our topics here. This evening, this career exploration will be repeated tonight. I'm sorry, not tonight. It will not be repeated tonight. If you go down here to the PM topics, there's going to be the high schools will talk about the WASC and link learning. We're going to have a presentation on our robotics bowl, our student tutors, and we have a special program with the city. We're talking about junior lifeguards. Mr. Moskowitz will give the 3rd installment of the Lexia Rapid program. And then the group will also tonight vote on the topics. So if you're so inclined, you can come back tonight at Marshall. It's going to be and vote again. We're not going to, censor people. But I do want you to pay attention to the very bottom here. We had to make a meeting change. So on May 8th, the meeting will be at Alvarado School at 7 o'clock in the library. But on May 9th, the meeting will be here in the daytime. So there will be 2 different dates. So we have a conflict that I had to change one of the meetings. So we hold the meetings on the same day. But the May 8th meeting will be in the evening at Alvarado. The morning meeting will be here on May 9th. And I believe that's our last meeting. Yes. So for the year. So, okay. So again, some of the norms, we always respect one another's opinions. This is an opportunity for you folks to participate, give feedback, and so on. Remember, these are general system questions, issues, concerns. When we go to the Q&A, not about my own site, my own child, my own child's teacher, and so on. I'll discuss that with you later. We always do introductions, so that's where we use the microphone. So if we can start here, sir. We ask you if you say your name and what school or schools that you represent.
Hi, my name is Robert Collins, and I'm representing Fremont Elementary School.
Good morning, my name is Brenda Munio, and I'm representing Hoover Middle.
Good morning, I'm Megan Kerr from the Board of Education.
Good morning, Diana Craighead, Board of Education. Thank you for being here.
Hi, Karen Faulkner, representing Marshall Middle School, where I have a 7th grader and I have a junior at Milliken.
Good morning, I'm Terry Jameson. I'm representing MacArthur Elementary School and Marshall Middle School.
Good morning, I'm Tanisha Pitts. I'm representing Hughes Middle School. As a representative, as a parent, I'm just here for my 2 students, Wilson, 11th grade, and Polly, 10th grade.
My name is Jordan Tracy. I represent Cubberley K-8, where I have a 2nd grader.
I also have a 2nd grader at Cubberley, and I'm Haley Franks Tucker.
Susan Bates, Cubberley.
I'm Rebecca Fast. I'm from Parent University, and I'm also a mom of 2 girls at Keller Middle School.
I am Chris Savant. I'm Coverly, and I have a 6th grader.
Karen Wolf, I represent Adams Elementary. I have a 1st grader there.
Diamond Hopkins. I'm a grandparent, grandma for 9 children, 9 different schools.
Wow, she gets an award.
Hi, I'm Monique Ray. I have 1 daughter at Colin Powell and a daughter and niece at Jordan.
Aloha, aloha everyone. My name is Malaya Fepule Aito'omalatai Coleman. I'm the Pacific Islander Education Voyage Coordinator.
My name's Wendy Winters, and I represent you at the LCAP committee meetings.
Good morning, Gloria Rubalcaba, District Interpreter.
Good morning. I'm Kelly Hodge from the Office of Equity Access and College Career Readiness.
Good morning, I'm Dolnari Ederisinga Aga from the Office of Equity Access, College and Career Readiness, and also representing Parent University.
Hi, I'm Josh Gorski. I represent Milliken and McBride. I have twins, 1 at each school.
Good morning, Adele Snow, representing Gompers K-8, 2 8th graders and a 4th grader there.
Okay. Good morning, I'm Sheena Dennis, representing Jordan High School and a kindergartner at Willard.
Good morning, I'm Gayla Dykens. I'm a LCAP committee member.
Good morning, I'm Kimberly Duenas, administrator in the Deputy Superintendent's Office and a mother of 2 daughters at Keller Middle School.
Cindy Bader, High School Office.
Good morning, my name is Maria Holguin and represent Bancroft Middle School.
Good morning, my name is Maria Loesa. I'm representing Signal Hill Elementary and Bancroft Middle School.
Buenos días, Yolanda Huerta, Patrick Henry, and Parent University.
Chuck Howard representing Wilson High School.
Hi, Allison Kripp, Los Cerritos Elementary with my 2 kids, PTA chair, site council, and recreational aide at our school.
My name is Clemencia Crespo. I represent Cabrillo High School and Stevens Middle School and Garfield Elementary.
You can go ahead.
Oh, I thought you were going to.
No, go ahead.
Karina Agus, career developer at Jordan High School.
Good morning, Fatima Nelson, career developer at Cabrillo High School, and I've got a middle schooler at Stanford and an elementary student at Prisk.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody. And an interesting fact about Long Beach is 70% of our employees live within the boundaries of our district. And remember, we serve 4 cities, okay? So we serve 95% of the city of Long Beach. There's a very small part that we don't serve. It's served by ABC. And then there is, we serve half the city of Lakewood. The entire city of Signal Hill because we surround the entire city. And then, of course, Catalina Island. And another interesting piece is that of those 70%, over 95% of them send their children to the schools within their district. And you heard choice is alive and well because people are sending their kids everywhere in families, and that's a uniqueness. When we just had a whole group visit us from Riverside, and the number one thing is that how do you do choice? How does it work? Because so many districts don't have as robust of a choice program that we do here in Long Beach. So, and I also want to take a shout out to thank our board for coming because we're very fortunate that our board members, these are part-time jobs they have that are really full-time jobs because they, our board members have historically done a great job of visiting every place, and so you might see them in a weekend if there are 5 events at 5 events, and so very, very appreciative. And I want to give a shout out to our parent here because she had some very special news about her son. He, as you know, Cabrillo had a very exciting season with soccer, and her son, who is a 10th grader, was the athlete of the entire city. He made the paper. So we were having a discussion, and if you ever want to see great soccer, go watch this young man play. He's already being recruited by universities and pros, let's just say, and we had a great discussion that yes, he will go to college, and yes, he'll go to the place that gets him the best deal. So we have 2 years to work on that still. And on top of that, I'm so proud of what everyone does in the system to prepare our young people for college and career. Because when I was going to school, it was separate. You were either on the college track or you were put in what was called back then the voc ed track. And we just have to be honest. And a lot of times it was done based on race, based on perceived abilities, and so on. Today, that's not the case. So today, we really are working hard to give everyone all these options, and then you choose. None of us have the right to say, you're going to go to X and you're going to go to Y and so on. We have to make, the child has to make those choices. Even as parents, now parents, you may not want me to say this, but even as parents, we aren't the drivers of what the young people are going to do. Okay? We can encourage, but we have to allow our children to have that passion and pursue that passion, whatever that passion is, as long as they're good citizens and don't get in trouble. So that's really important. So talking about the career part, I'm going to ask Karina and Fatima to come up, and they've done they represent a whole group of people, what we call career specialists, and they're going to share what they do.
Hi, good morning. My name is Karina Agus, and I have the pleasure at working at Jordan High School. I'm very fond of my students at Jordan High School, and before this year, 3 years ago, I started working there, and my focus was really working with the special education students, really providing the services like job preparedness, workplace readiness training, getting them work experiences, paid or unpaid, and self-advocacy, very important, and post-secondary options. This year, we were very lucky to be able to expand those services to our general population students because we all need that extra help. I know I did when I was in high school, and I didn't have the resources growing up. So through our collaboration with the career transition specialist, the career pathway coordinator, the work-based learning coordinator, a head counselor, and myself, we were able to create a college and career readiness team. And through that, we've been able to serve about 500 walk-in general education students at Jordan High School, and they really just wanted to come in to get resume development help. You have no idea how many students come in and they have a flyer that we have these really nice flyers at Jordan that say jobs, because all students want jobs, and they come in and they're like, is this you? Are you Karina? And I'm like, yes. And they basically say, I need a job. So where do I go? And the first question I say is, do you have a resume? And most of them say no, and they don't even understand the importance of a resume. They don't understand what a resume is. And so we really sit down and do one-on-one help with these students. So we also do interviewing techniques, because the first part is creating the resume, doing the application. Now the next part is going through that interviewing and getting the job. We also do in-class career module presentations. We have about 5 career modules that we're presenting to all students right now. We have interviewing, we have resume writing, career exploration, which we usually present at our lower grades, freshmen and sophomores. And we also have a 30-second speech, because it's very important. They don't understand that the first impression really means a lot. And if they're walking in and they don't understand who they are and can express that to someone who is, an employer who's looking for employees, they're never going to get past that first stage. Aside from that, we're also creating awareness of the local job market. So a lot of our students don't really understand where to look for jobs. They know they need a job, but they don't know where to look. So what we do is every 2 weeks via school loop email, every single student at Jordan High School gets a job leads list. And that's local jobs that we have come up for them. That we've looked up, and we've made connections with business partners in the city, and they are able to apply for those jobs. And although, because the emails are going to all students, a lot of the students won't be of age to apply for those jobs, but those who are really eager will come out and look for my help to be able to get additional help. So we also have a volunteer and internship list that we put together for all of our students, and if they're not of age, then they're referred to that that list to start gaining experience. Because the really sad part that's going on at Jordan is I have a senior walking in who really wants a job but has had no experience. Okay, they've never done anything. Or they've had experience and they don't know how to express that on an actual resume. So a lot of them are babysitters. They've babysat cousins and they don't understand that that can relate to a job, you know. We're also very fortunate at Jordan to be able to host the STAR Construction Program, which is a pre-apprenticeship program that we have with LIUNA. Currently, we have about 19 students who are participating in the program, and right after high school graduation, as soon as they graduate, if they decide, I don't want to go to college, this is another option for them to go into a high-wage paying career. And all students, regardless of whether or not they're going into the union, will graduate with their OSHA 10 certification as soon as a program is done. We've also raised awareness of post-secondary options because we all know that not all of our students at our high schools are going to college. So we need to make sure that if you're not going to college, you have Plan B. What is Plan B for our students? That might be going into the union. That might be getting a certification. So we want to make sure that those options are also, those options are also available to all of our students who come out and seek our assistance. I think another part of our program is also the Transition Partnership Program. We still work with a lot of our special education students. We've partnered up with the Department of Rehab. And what we do is we basically provide all 5 services to our special education students. And upon high school graduation, if they decide to continue going through the Department of Rehab, they can become a generalist client. And you have no idea how many services are provided through the generalist population for our students. I was very lucky to be able to do a lot of the transitions last summer for our high school students from the TPP program to the generalist population. And most of our students who went on and decided they wanted to go to college, the Department of Rehabilitation paid for laptops. They paid for the student to have internet service at home. They paid for books. They paid for classes. And so we need to make sure that our students are getting all of those resources. And I think thank you so much. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry, yes. Yes. Oh, I'm so sorry.
So I have 2 questions, but they're related.
Okay.
You know what? I'm a baby boomer.
Okay.
So I think this is a little baby boomer perspective, but it seems like some of our kids today, they get jobs,
yes,
but they have some bad work habits. And when I say bad work habits, I mean like, you know, they might not know that it really is important not to be tardy.
Yes.
It really is important not to be on your cell phone when you're working. It's very important to be polite to the customers.
Yes.
Do you do any of that? And let's say training, and let's say if a kid does get fired, is there any kind of follow through with them? Because sometimes, you know, they'll just get fired, right?
Yes.
And their bosses won't give them any feedback. Do you ever help them process that so they don't make some of the same errors and get fired again?
Oh, of course. Through the workplace readiness training, our career modules are really, that material is embedded in our career modules. So we talk about that a lot because we see those bad habits even in the classroom. I'm talking to them and they're looking at their cell phone. So we have to talk to them about that because they don't understand that. To them, this is just their generation. You know, their generation is social media. They're constantly on their cell phones, but we do embed that into our curriculum so the students are getting the material. And we're not just saying this once or twice. You know, as soon as they come in, we're telling them right off the back. If they have bad habits where they're just talking to us, I let them know, you know, if you were going into an interview and you were on your cell phone, you know, you're not going to get hired, you know. And then we talk about how a lot of those skills are going to go into their career. So yes, we do that. And like you said, I don't have a case where students have gotten fired. A lot of our training does do really well with preparing the students, so I know that the students are very successful in their jobs, but we have had some students come in and say, well, I didn't have a very great experience. You know, my boss didn't tell me that I was here for a meeting, so we have to explain the process of getting a job and how it is to follow up, to communicate and things like that, so, yes.
I love seeing this integrated into the school. It's wonderful. My question is, and I apologize, my information is rather old, But with the state's EDD program for youth employment, does this tie in with that? Are you guys working in conjunction with them? And maybe that program doesn't exist anymore, and I apologize, but I believe the state has, EDD has a youth, or used to have a youth employment program set up. So I'm wondering how this works together with that.
It goes through the Pacific Gateway, that's part of it. Yeah. Yeah, so, right. So there is, it's supplemental to that.
It's a supplement.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank
yeah.
you. Yes, and we actually do partner up with Pacific Gateway. So if our students are not of age to apply for actual jobs, we refer them to Pacific Gateway. So students can be anywhere between 14 to 26 years old to participate in Pacific Gateway, like a paid work experience. So if students qualify, they do go through 120 hour of a paid work experience. So they do have that opportunity.
Yeah, my question, I think you almost answered. What grade level that these students can start it? Because as he mentioned, he's a baby boomer.
Yes.
We're dealing with students millennial. They deal with having the best social media out there. So therefore, we need to, I don't know what time they started your program, and you only have 19 students. What is the population at Jordan, and what are the criteria in order for them to be in your program?
Is that for the STAR construction program?
All programs.
All programs. For the transitional partnership program, our students have to be in the special education track, so they have to have an IEP in order to qualify for that. For our current grant, we serve students 16 till high school graduation. So we have freshmen who are 16-year-olds, so it just depends on the age. I've been at Jordan for 3 years, and since then, I mean, we have really seen this program grow. For the STAR construction program, you have to be a senior because that opportunity, in order to go into that opportunity, you need a high school diploma. So you can go through the program. I've had 2 juniors who actually went through the program junior year, but then they had to redo the program senior year in order to be eligible for those positions that will be available after high school graduation. And I just think we need to start doing this early and often. I know Fatima loves to use that phrase because our freshman students, for example, I partnered up with the LEAP Small Learning Community at Jordan, which is a Law and Education Academy of Panthers, and we are doing already mock interviews with our freshmen, and we've never seen that before. You know, and to actually see our freshmen come out and have a resume and dress professionally and actually interview and be successful is just amazing. So we just need to start this early and often. And we are already doing that with our in-class presentations. For our freshmen and sophomore, we do our career exploration, which is really exploring what careers are out there. And then juniors and seniors, that's when we really focus on like interviewing, resume development, and like the 30-second speech.
And they have deployed and piloted at certain middle schools, career modules for kids because it's a building path. Because again, in Pacific Gateway, you can be 14 to 26. So, and that would obviously be middle school age. So a lot of great things happening, and obviously the need is big. It's huge. So Fatima?
Good morning, everyone. I am honored to be here with parents. I've got a special place in my heart for parents. I'm a Long Beach parent myself. I'm going to try not to repeat a lot of the information that Karina just shared with you. She shared just about everything with you, but I just wanted to make you aware of how we at Cabrillo High School have implemented a lot of these services with the idea that Mr. Steinhauser talked about equity and, making sure all students are prepared for college and career. And for us at Cabrillo, the way that we started that conversation or addressed that was to build a school-wide plan so that although we have the college and career centers located at each of our comprehensive high schools where kids can walk in, I'm skipping around a bit, but the career center we've had at least, and I'm undercutting these numbers, at least 350 or so students who are just walking in to see me in particular, for resume development or something to, related to careers, or maybe they're coming in to see a USC advisor around college, and because I'm just in the same space, they're like, well, you know what? Why don't I go ahead and build a resume while I'm here? So we're serving a lot of students that way, but we didn't want to just catch the kids that are just self-motivated to walk into the center by themselves. And so the way that we're trying to address that is, we at Cabrillo and the administration decided we're going to go into the classrooms, do lots of in-classroom presentations, and see all of the ninth graders and make sure every single one of them, or as many of them as we can, get the career exploration modules that we put together, career exploration 1 and 2, which involves a lot of kind of detailed, concrete steps that we can give them on what it means to really explore a career, not just, I'd like to be a nurse, and I think that'd be, and have really no idea of what the major career ladder steps that you have to take, and academic steps you have to take to achieve a particular career. So we made sure all ninth graders got that, and we hit almost all of them. And then we also decided, well, we're going to go into the pathway classrooms and then make sure all of our juniors are prepared with resumes and interviewing techniques. And I think it's really worked for our campus, because now that most of the kids have been exposed to some of or been given a lot of these basic tools, now when I get kids coming into the center, a lot of our older students, they have a resume ready to go, or something that they've started in their Google Classroom. We use the technology that they're very familiar with already. For those of you who are helicopter parents like I am, and you're like in the kids' business, and what are you getting for homework, and what did your teacher assign? You know that most of the teachers are assigning classroom assignments through Google, the Google platform that the district has made available to all of the young people. So they're working on their Chromebooks every single day and completing projects through that. So I said, why don't we just make the resume template available through a Google Classroom? So they don't have to worry about, is it saved? Can I access it? Once we build it, and I don't just talk at them, when I go in and do a resume presentation, they have to create it as I'm talking to them about what needs to be included in a professional looking resume. So by the time we're done, our time is done, they have something that they can walk away with, a really concrete tool. Even if it's not complete, they've got a great foundation. And so it's also automatically saved in their Google Drive, so they can access it from home when they're ready. If they see a job opportunity pop up and they want to upload a resume and apply for that job or internship, or include it as an academic resume when they're applying for colleges, they have it available always. So we use the technology. And also, Karina talked about they send the job lists out. At Cabrillo, we post it on Cabrillo's website. So again, no matter where they are, they can access it. And frankly, our parents in the parent center, they come in on a monthly basis, and they pick up the job lists, and they make sure that it's posted in their room. We make it available as many ways as we can. And I always joke when they come in, I didn't want a cubicle in the Career Center. I wanted to be out in the open. I'm like one of the first things they see, and I didn't need a fancy sign. I just put jobs, jobs, jobs on my table, and that's all I needed. And I get tons of traffic, and I tell them, you don't even have to talk to Miss Nelson. Again, the social media crowd, they're not always that social in terms of interacting with people like face to face. If you don't want to talk to me, that's fine. But the list is right here. You can come in and pick it up. And we have all of these resources in the College Center, 30 computers, desktops that you can go and sit down and start applying. And if you need help with the application, believe it or not, a lot of them just going, from page to page online on an application. They need a lot of help with that. We're there, and we can walk them through it. So it's really worked for us. Again, we want to prepare the kids for college and career, and then they make the decision about what they'd like to take advantage of. To that point, we recently had a career, we call it a career options fair, which is really different from kind of your standard career fair. We had this at Cabrillo, where we invited the unions, the apprenticeship programs, the training programs, and that's not always the trades. We brought in a computer animation program, training program, cybersecurity, the allied health professions. So are you, maybe you're interested in the medical field, there's a lot more that you can tap into than nursing or being a doctor. You could be a radiologist. You could, work to be an x-ray technician and so we wanted to make sure we only invited programs that led to high-paying opportunities, career opportunities. So we targeted the seniors this year. We had well over 100 seniors come voluntarily on their own, decide to come and take advantage of the Career Options Fair, and we thought it was really successful. The administration has already made plans to do it again next year and to offer it to more students. So not just the seniors, start that education process or awareness process with younger kids. Some of the really important lessons that we learned, she talked about talking to students about where they have gaps. And so when I was walking young people through creating resumes, they noticed, okay, in the experience section, you can put something around a career or paid experience if you volunteered before, babysitting, church work, all of these things can qualify as work experience. Now, how many of you don't have anything after we've even said that all of these things can be included? How many of you don't have anything to put in that section? And the hands would go up. Ms. Nelson is telling you now that your job is to make sure by the end of this year, and then usually it was, juniors and seniors I was talking to you about the resume, by the end of this school year, that you've chosen something, that you've committed an hour or a week or something to building this area, because there's no way that you should be exiting a Long Beach school without having something to offer in a resume. So it really helped those conversations. You're on the back end saying, you're being lazy or you need to do something. Well, we're talking to them about it in terms of career opportunities in the future, filling your resume. I tell them it's your commercial. So you want to build the best commercial that you can so that people understand all of your skills and abilities. You mentioned a certain kind of skill set. When we interact with employers, the way that they talk about those skills, they call them soft skills. And they say often, I can train an employee to do this particular work. What I cannot train on are the things that are honestly some of the most important things to me, which are those soft skills. So team work, communication, integrity. All these are the soft skills that we actually have a real kind of concrete conversation with the kids about. We give them a whole list of them, and we talk through them, during our interviewing skills workshop. And then we have to make it fun. You can't just talk at students. We make it fun. We do demonstrations for them. So Ms. Nelson walks in with her cell phone and, this demonstration one, and I walk in with my head down and, oh, hi, I'm here for the interview. And then the second demonstration, you walk in with your smile and you shake that person's hand, you look them in the eye. These basic things are the things that we're trying to share with our young people because somebody taught us So we can't necessarily expect them to know intuitively. It's our job to teach them as well. So that's the work that we're doing out in the schools. This is what we're doing at Cabrillo. And we brought a flyer that maybe we'll just leave on the back that just lists all of the schools where we have job developers and who they are and how you can reach out to them. So please take advantage. Yes.
Service and helping our young generation grow. My question is there a way that you can help by involving the English teachers on how to prepare they call it a growth academic portfolio at 9th grade? When they started in 9th grade, and then they continue in 10th grade, and by the time they reach 12th grade, they already have an excellent resume. So every time when the students are having, anytime in 9th grade, when they receive an award or they participate in any activities at school, this is the time the English teacher, they go over and make sure you completed your academic portfolio. Because we do that at camps. We have been doing that since '97. My niece graduated in 2001, and another niece 2002, and my nephew 2004. And then my niece 2011, and then my daughter 12, my son 15, my other son 2017. So that's the reason why. And also, the other thing is you have a connection to all these students that they go through college. So when the kids, when they apply to that college, they have that support group that they connected to those students that they graduated from camps, and they will become like brothers and sisters and guide them through whatever schools that they're in. These are all the things that us parents, we work very hard to build camps the way camps is right now. So that's something we'd like to share with all high schools and to implement it in your school. Have a growth academic portfolio that will prepare your child.
I'm taking notes as you're talking. I mean, I know there's been some basic work already about how to build an online portfolio for students. And, you know, it looks a little different at every school. And we even have a teacher, Christopher Itzen, who's been piloting doing kind of a portfolio with a senior class right now. But yes, some of that early work is being done.
Sorry. Good morning. I have 2 questions or 2 points. One was, I recall the last meeting there was somebody here from, I think, Lakewood, and I had talked to them about credit worthiness and sort of their social media presence in terms of employment. I think employers are starting to look at other things aside from just their work experience. So I'm just curious to know if you include that in some of the training or conversations. And 2, my second point was mentorship. One of the things I was a part of when I was in high school, many moons ago, was a mentorship program. Does the school or the district provide anything or is working and collaborating with an organization that will allow kids, I think I was in 10th grade when I had a mentor, and it really gave me some insight to career options or just you know, a different conversation. I myself did not have parents who graduated from college, so to have someone to have these conversations with was super helpful. So I'm just curious to know if any of that is happening in any of the high schools or if that's in progress.
For the mentorship programs, all of our high schools within our pathways have all developed advisory boards and mentor programs through their pathway advisory boards.
Huge mentoring program. We just had a big celebration yesterday with a group that probably has one of the largest mentors, BLAST, which mentors students basically from middle school, and they do work in a couple of our high schools. They have over 500 a semester that come, and they've been in the district for many, many, many years, over a decade. And so you're right. And then the other part is about 3,000 of our juniors and seniors participate in some type of internship or apprenticeship and so on. And I'm going to give a shout out to Cabrillo because one of the metrics that we track for all of our high schools is how many of our kids have work-based learning activities. So for example, about 95% of the students at Cabrillo, which are around a little over 2,000 students, have had at least one work-based learning experience. So Wilson, for example, that just has gone into Pathways, and they're only for the 9th and 10th grade, almost 60% of their students already have had work-based learning activities. So we actually look at this, we get together, we track it, we share best practices, and something that, because our kids are very social savvy, I have a student advisory group that I meet with, and they tell me, you know, Mr. Steinhauser, we love the career advisors, we love the SE advisors you saw last week, because I might be at school A, but through the internet, I'm going to school B, C, and D to take all their best practices too, because that's what they do, to be very honest with you. So I may go to see Fatima at Cabrillo, but I'm also visiting Lakewood's, you know, and Jordan's site, and so on. And that's what we encourage, and we want that to happen, because it's not a closed shop by any means. Do we want more mentors? Yes. Do we want more apprentice and internships? Yes. And so, and the other part is there was a, last weekend, I know Mrs. Craig was there, and then this weekend through our Long Beach Call program, students actually came and were interviewed by business leaders and university people, and there were a couple hundred kids there, and it was a wonderful conference for them, all about half a day. And I mean, if you can think about this, at 8 o'clock in the morning, almost 200 kids are coming, you know, on a Saturday to learn about interviewing skills, resume skills. It's really pretty impressive to do that.
So I remember my first job, it was a dishwasher, and I would come home and I'd be super stinky, but it was so great because I was making money. But my mama's rule was, in order to have the job, I needed to have a C average. I couldn't have any D's or F's. And I think the school had a similar policy, like you could only have a job or get a permit, I think they called it, if you had a certain grade point average. Is there anything that y'all do to the, hey, if you're getting all F's, we don't want you to have a job? Or is there any kind of policy on that?
There's not a policy on that, but if you get a work permit, you are supposed to have a C average and so on. But what we've kind of done in the past is, the present I should say, because I was like you, my first job was tidy-dighty, okay? Most of you don't even know what tidy-dighty is. So tidy-dighty was, it was, and the reason I was at tidy-dighty was because it was right down the street from my house. So I actually would only walk 4 houses down because the factory was right here. And it was, people would send their dirty diapers, and my job was to count those dirty diapers. And this is when you talk about skills, you had to be on time. I had a quota, I had to count 1,000 diapers an hour. I mean, we did not wear gloves back then. But what it taught me was about teamwork. It taught me about punctuality. It also taught me what I didn't want to do. You know, to be really honest with you, because it was a good job. I'm blessed, and I was thankful to have it. But I knew that I wanted to do something else. I wanted to expand my horizon. But I had to have a work permit for that, so I had to go to my career counselor at that time to get that. Well, we also have lots of interns and what we call student workers, and we encourage everyone. And think about a child who is not doing well in school. This might be that hook, like art or athletics or whatever. And so we don't discourage or disqualify anyone because of the grade issue. Now, an employer, you know, like for sports, you have to have a C average and all that kind of business to play. But we want to make sure that our young people have every opportunity that's out there. Because through, for example, the Pacific Gateway program and other programs, we will bring students in over the summer and give them experiences, because then that's going to lead to academic success. So there's really a two world. We do have the work permit structure still, but we have really expanded what I'm going to call the non-work permit arena, where we literally bring kids in, pay them. I think it's $12 an hour now because of the minimum wage issue. And so, yeah, it's not bad. Yeah, the tidy diet was $1.05. So. Other questions? Back here. Oh.
Yes, I have a question. For the internships, do they need to have a social security number?
Yes, they do. For most internships, they need to.
Yeah, it depends on the employer. So, but there are many students that don't have that, can still do an internship, but may not be paid.
Hi, I have a question.
for like middle school, I know we're doing this in high school, and that's lovely, and you say early and often. So what are you taking from this to try to like disseminate to the middle schools, and then maybe even elementary school? I know at Adams this year and last year during our little Spirit Week, we had the kids dress up like what you want to be when you grow up. So like, and that got the conversation started even with my son, like, hey, I want to do this or I want to do this. And I'm like, if we can do that early as well, so what kind of stuff are like those kind of things that you can like send to elementary schools and like, you might want to try this, that might be a good, you know, or like how we used to have like our parents come in and like, bring your parent to work, or you know, bring your parent to school, and what do you do for your job, kind of thing, just to kind of get that information and get their little minds thinking about that.
Right, through the elementary grades, it's embedded in social studies, and many schools do exactly what you talked about. Many of the schools in both elementary, middle, and K-8 have career days. So for example, Hamilton just had a huge career day in North Long Beach, probably about 45 different representatives there, where individuals go, speak to the students, and so on. And so there's lots of different activities, and people share with these and best practices going back and forth. Is there anything else you guys want to add to that? Cindy?
There's the middle school program, the Scholar Pathways, and they do a lot of embedding of career exploration. Sorry.
The Long Beach Scholars Program.
Yeah, in the middle schools, and they have a big career exploration program.
But another example is go on the website, talk to your parent peers, because there are some best practices you can import from other schools. And that's the best way to really enhance all these things. So that because, and I have to tell you, Long Beach is the largest employer in the city of Long Beach. We are number one because we don't have any big businesses here. So even the port that's huge doesn't have a lot of direct employees that they directly employ. They have a lot that they support, and so on. So we have roughly 1,000 small businesses, and those businesses really do rally and come to our aid on a regular basis because we're asking them to come on a Saturday. We're asking them to go. Remember, we have 84 schools. So 84 career days, all these things. We will be sharing with you later in the fall, because out of this group has come the concept of a need for financial literacy. So we've talked about that, not only for students, but for employees too, to be really honest with you. So our two major credit unions have agreed to come together and provide for free a financial literacy program that's going to be pretty exciting. So it can be for parents, it can be for employees, it can be for kids. So that you'll learn more about that next year. But that's another example of two businesses who people could say are competitors who are working together for the common good. So again, it's another great example of what we can do here in the city. So, yes.
So I always feel so encouraged when I come out of these meetings. And my question is, so when best practices are shared or relayed, what I've learned is that principals also make a big difference in each school. I would love to know how you or the district ensures that those best practices are shared and are also expected or provided to students. Because I will tell you, career day at Edison Elementary does not happen. I'm working really hard just to get, the kids to see a firefighter in a positive way as opposed to an emergency.
Right. No, and I think point well taken. So you have 84 buildings, 84 communities, 84 cultures. Okay. So our job is to share those best practices and then to bring people along. And so we look at multiple things. We look at the academic piece, and what I'm going to call the non-academic piece, okay, and the extracurricular piece. But it takes everyone working together. Okay, it takes the parents, it takes the teachers, it takes the administrators, it takes us. I'll give you a prime example. So I started my day off today at 7:30 at Stevens Middle School. So Stevens Middle School was having what was called their quarterly visit. At their quarterly visit, and it was all presented by the teachers. The principal didn't, he introduced it. But what they did differently than, because all the middle schools and high schools are doing this, so there were 3 other middle schools there, for example, Franklin and 2 other schools. But the student body officers of the school started off the quarterly visit and talked about the goals that they were working at their school, talked about the things they were working on, and said, we want you visitors, because there were about 15 people there, give us critical feedback on how we can do better in these areas. So these were 6th, 7th, and 8th graders who were talking to the audience via video And it was really pretty exciting and different. So that's where, you know, we need to share with parents, because as we meet with, whether it be your PTA or school site councils, whatever happens to be, and how can we help schools? Because sometimes it just takes that single soul, what I'm going to call as a disruptor, who needs to cause a positive influence. Because some people will say, well, I can't do this, or, you know, it's never been done here before, or X or Y. That's not the case. Every school has great things going on, and how do we build it? So now, we can't, what I don't do, I'll be real honest with you, and I get criticized for this, and that's my job, is I get criticized for being too much of a dictator, okay? And I get criticized for being not enough of a dictator, okay? So the issue for me is, I'll use sports as an example. I don't pick coaches. So a parent group may want a coach fired. It's not my job to fire the coach. That's the school's responsibility, okay? Now I have to look into, you know, questionable practices and that kind of stuff. But just because they don't like somebody, I'm not going to get involved in that. So, but the thing is, I can't operate from here 84 buildings. What I can do is encourage my staff and others to and do that. And that's where you guys play a critical role, pushing back on us, okay, to be really honest with you. And I've seen schools where they've had very little activity in these arenas go from here to here to here. So, you know, and so it's very exciting of the change, you know, what can happen. And so, so I always say, never give up, always stay there, and share best practices. You know, one of the best things years ago, I had parent volunteers from one of my East Side schools who had a lot of parent volunteers, like 300 parent volunteers. And they said, you know, Chris, we want to go to another school because we have too many people here. Where would you recommend us to go? So about 15 of them went on a regular basis to one of my more challenging schools. And they said, we want to help. So they actually helped in mathematics and literacy. They didn't have to do that, you know, but I was so pleased that they said, you know what, our kids have everything, they're going to be fine. How can we help this system? So it's that kind of stuff that we have to encourage, and another school may have a great career fair, and how can we go to that school, and what did you do to get to wherever you got to? So it's really good. So, so I'll still be a bad dictator and a good dictator. So other questions before we wrap this part up? Let's give, yes, sure.
Comment on to hers, just I'd like to make a comment. I think one of the things is, I think that's one of the responsibilities of being a representative to this meeting is. I know that all the schools I've worked with, and even one of the schools I'm no longer involved, but I know the principal, we will sit down after today and go over everything discussed here. And I make a point, and I have great relationships with the principals, but I will sit down with both Dr. Blazer and Mr. Moraga and go over all the discussions here today, what we talked about, what, you know, like the fact that Cabrillo is doing better at something than we are. And
they love it. I'll tell you this. You know what they say?
We talk, and you'll see me in there. But I think that's part of the responsibility of being in this forum, is learning from this and then going back to your school and challenging them and saying, hey,
and principals tell me that all the time, and they say, well, you know what, you told them first, Chris, you didn't tell us.
Oh, yeah.
So
I get upset about that. So.
They do.
So this is a tiny bit off topic, but it's going to lead into our next thing. And I also kind of want to piggyback on what you're saying, and I don't want to be negative, but I do feel like when I was reading the LCAP recommendations, there's some of them that I'm like, okay, this is a good idea, but my principal's never going to do it. She's never going to do it. And it is hard to, you know, because I go to CAC on Wednesday nights, and then I'm here on Thursday mornings, and I have my school site council meeting. And it's like I come out of these meetings like, yeah, this is so great. And I go to my school site council, and it's like, oh, yeah, that's hard. That's, oh, yeah, we can't really, we're not going to do that. And so it's discouraging. So I just wanted to bring it up before we vote on the LCAP, because like I said, there are things on here that I look at and I'm like, that is a great idea, but it's not going to be implemented at my school.
So, and that's a great point to piggyback on the previous point. So I don't ever use the words never or always, okay? Because there's always hope. So when people say things like, I can or I won't or it's not going to happen, then that's a challenge that we have to put out to me and others to make it happen. Now, there may be a legitimate reason why it's not happening at that time, because there might be 5 other things that are more critical that have to be fixed at the school, for example. Okay?
Well, can I give you a specific
Absolutely.
example? So at our last CAC meeting, we had National Institute or NAMI, National, what's the A? Of mental illness. I don't.
Right.
It's association or.
Right.
So, and talk about suicide prevention, mental illness, ways to prevent that. And at School Site Council, just purely coincidentally, a parent guest brought up suicide prevention, and it's like, we can't talk about that. And I'm like, no, we had a speaker last night that says it doesn't give kids the idea. Oh, it's going to give the kids the idea. We're not going to talk about that.
And
so I don't know how to talk to someone who won't even acknowledge data.
Well, and that is great feedback. So then when we go back to meeting with the assistant soups, that we bring that on the table and say, here's what this is. Because you're exactly right. Some people have a fear of if you do X, Y, or Z, it's going to lead to A, B, and C. So what we have to help everyone understand those things. So it's all good. So it's all good about that. So I appreciate this is what the feedback is, because there are representatives, for example, from different offices. And so when they'll go back and they say, you know what was brought up in Mr. Steinhauser's parent forum were these concerns. And it's our job then to address those concerns. So then, for example, when we look at a site that's doing exactly what we're talking about right now, we may ask them to present at a principals meeting of how they did it and rolled it out, so that that person who is maybe apprehensive has an idea and another partner to work for. But never ever think, unless it's illegal, okay, that's different, and I'll tell you if it's legal or not, but never think that we can't or it's impossible or whatever. Because, I'll use myself as an example. I like to be a disruptor with Sacramento and DC. I don't like, if I think a policy up there is wrong, I'm going to challenge that policy, like the SAT. We're on the 3rd round of that one. People say, well, aren't you going to give up? I'm like, no, we're not going to give up, And so the issue is, if we think it's right, we're going to work hard to do it. So push back on us all up.
Thank you so much, parents, for bringing that up, because it's such an important issue. And also, if you really think about it, if you look at the statistics of our children, more than 50% of them are failing, and in math and in English. So, and especially the underrepresented students. So if you really look at that in detail, somebody's not doing their job. And as volunteer parents, we work hard, but we need to come together as a team. Like my mother always say, we are the heart, our children are the heartbeat. So we need to work hard and work together as a team.
Yep, thank you. Yes, right here.
When I have gone to these meetings where we have to present something that we want, I always encounter, like I do it with my 4-year-old daughter, when I said, you want a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? She said no. So do you want butter and peanut in your bread? Yes. It's the same thing, but I explain it differently, and she agreed. And I use that with adult too, and has worked. So do you want to workshop on mental illness that would touch about anxiety around testing? And, oh yeah, that's a great idea. Do you want to workshop on depression? No.
Yeah.
But do you want to workshop on anxiety? Yes. So I don't know, it's how you present
Well,
it.
and the other part is we have to look at multiple things. I'm laughing because I say no all the time. So the first thing I say is no, and my wife would tell you, come back to him in a week, And so but unless it's money, always say no. So, but I do. Let's say one more. I'm sorry, and then we'll. Go ahead.
First of all, I want to compliment the 2 ladies over here from Caprio. That's a great program that you guys send out. That time and effort that you did accomplish that. And I wish it was around the time when my granddaughter was graduating with the honors 4-year scholarship from Wilson High, and is now going to Cal State, because she's going to be she wants to be a That's her major. It's an electronic technician for the NASA. And I wish your program was around and had that internship, because it would help her a lot working through it, you know, while she's going to school, because those kind of things, it helps the child even further because they enjoy it and they like it, you know. That makes a difference. And also, I want to compliment this mother over here thank you for bringing that up, because the word fear in us parents, even the teachers and everybody else here, you know, kind of hold us back because of pride and whatever. But because we're parents and we don't know the inside of what's going on with our students and and the teachers and all that, we find out later on, whatever. But it's really great to bring it up and discuss it, because it's the fear in our kids to speak up, communicate with the teacher, whatever the problem may be at the moment that we're not there. And it helps them communicate and get the message what is holding them back from learning or getting the message from the teacher. It really, really is a focal cord of the teaching, which are the teachers that we depend on or send our children to school with the superintendent and all the school district people that are in the staff to help assist our kids accordingly and help them out. Because we are parents and we're out here, we're like, okay, what? Okay, we're kind of like the last of the Mohicans to know about whatever is going on sometimes, you know? I mean, it's a fact. So then we come, this is my first time here, and I'm very grateful to be here and to learn and to know all these are available now, you know, because the high-tech digital world right now is really faster than anything. And also with our kids all the time on the phone, technology and all that, it's taking them higher. And even they're thinking wiser than even anything before. So I'm grateful and thank you also to the superintendent for the good job bringing this all together for us parents to connect with all of you staff and educational people that are teaching our kids and assisting them accordingly. Thank you very much and God bless.
Thank you. So let's give our people a round of applause. Good job. So like anything, there's no perfect system. We always want to go from where we're at to get better, and so we're very thankful for what everyone does. So I'm going to ask our parent university folks to come up. So I'm not sure who's going to do it. You can come up here. So remember, you've given us input on some additional workshops you would like to see out in the schools. So I'm going to turn it over to them, and they've heard you, and they have some exciting news to share with some things that are going to happen. So did you want, is it already on there?
It's not already on there. I thought it was going to have the dots timed up. Put it
Oh,
out, so
okay.
we'll just read.
Oh, okay, well, okay, thanks. I apologize.
No, that's okay. My name is Rebecca Fast, and my colleague Yolanda Huerta and I are here to talk about Parent University. I have been in this role in just a couple years out of the classroom, and one of the favorite parts of my job in being in Parent University is coming to these parent superintendent forums. I have learned so much, and I go back to my family and my husband all the time saying, I worked in this district for 20 years, and I didn't know these meetings were so informational, and I've learned so much. And so I take that kind of role when I work in Parent University. I take my educator hat, and I also have my parent hat when I work with parents and when we develop these workshops. Right now, the paradigm for Parent University is we have a catalog, and schools invite us out, and we do workshops at various schools throughout the district. But for the month of May, we're switching it up a little bit, and we are holding workshops, and we're inviting parents to come to us. So what you have in front of you is our workshops that we're hosting for May. And I'll kind of go through, if I can look at a workshop. Our first one is growth mindsets. So we're going to be looking at growth mindset, what's happening in Long Beach Unified Classrooms, kind of the model and the theory behind that. The next one, we have guests that will be there working with us with mental health awareness and our kids. The next one actually came directly from a workshop. I was sitting here with a couple of parents, and I think they're in the room here, is Google Classroom. Our kids are doing it. They're working on it all the time, but what is it? What does Google Classroom mean? What are Google Docs? How do they work? So we're having some tech experts from our district come and work with parents to kind of break down the Google Classroom, to break down what's happening in our schools so that you can be on the same language with your kids when they come home and they're working on a Google Doc or they're sharing some Google Slides. Next are resources for success. This one came about, it's just a compilation of all the things that are out there that Long Beach Unified does have. Again, I was at a workshop here and some parents were asking about math. How can I get sources to help my kid with math? And there's things that the Long Beach Unified already has out there. There are websites and there are things that we already have. And so this workshop is just going to go through all the district
the things the district already provides for parents. We don't have to be experts on Common Core math, but what this workshop shows you is how you can get help and how you can, partner with your kid at home when they're working on math. And then the last one is Summer in Long Beach Unified. We're going to a little bit talk about summer learning loss and why it's important to keep our kids active and engaged over summer. And then again, we're going to go through all the things that are offered in both our district and throughout the city for summer opportunities. So that's a little bit about what Parent University is working on. You want to add?
And we're going to have translation, Spanish and Khmer. We're going to have refreshments, raffles, or prizes. And we're going to have child care from 4 to 12. So I think that, that will be interesting. So like she said, we have Bobby Smith is more central Long Beach. And then we're having it at Hoover. So in case you cannot go to one, you can go to the other. And this is the pilot program. Please come and support us.
Thank you. Question? Yeah? I forgot, yeah.
2 questions?
Sure.
The first one, very basic. Is there good parking at the workshop? So, because sometimes the schools are so small.
Sometimes the schools are small, and then they have,
sweeping?
I don't think there's street sweeping on the days that we've picked, but sometimes they do have those no parking signs during school hours. So we have tried. Bobby Smith has pretty good parking at Hoover. You might have to walk, but it's a lovely neighborhood and it's a nice stroll to where we'll be. So I'm not going to promise great parking, maybe for the first 20 people who get there. So
Either early. So second one, I'm an unapologetic advocate for LGBTQ kids. And one thing that we see over and over, and there was just, again, in the news, it wasn't a gay kid, but in South Carolina, you probably guys heard about that. The little girls got in a fight in the classroom, and one of the little kids hit her head. And here's what every time there's a situation like this, it seems the parent of the kid that was hurt or committed suicide says the same thing. Oh my goodness, I called the school. I've been reporting this forever. And they feel really let down. So I guess my question is there a way for Parent University to have kind of a course of, hey, if your kid is being bullied, or if there's a problem because we have laws, and they're posted at every school, but here's the process. Here are your rights. The school should be doing this. And so if a parent feels their child is being bullied, they have the information to really be the advocate for them.
That's a great suggestion. And what we're working on with Parent University is gathering suggestions from parents so that we can offer workshops that parents want. So while we might not be the experts on that, part of our job is finding the experts who are so that we can offer that workshop. So that's really good insight and a good suggestion. Thank you.
Just another really quick, just to piggyback off of him, and that's for the information for the parents is great. But then on the back end of that, is there a way for you to partner with the school district to better help the administration to go, if parents are coming, you just can't have a blinder on and I'm not, if we don't see it happen, it didn't happen and we can't do nothing about it. So it's while we're helping the parents, we also need to kind of bring our school administration up to the same bar. And we really, because this is a real big problem, not just for LGBTQ, but, for all students, no matter what it is.
Correct. And one of the issues, though, is that, that people struggle with is that, let's use bullying as an example. It's a problem that we have to address, and schools really are, in my opinion, working hard to address that. But sometimes people say this is bullying when it's not bullying. Because the definition of bullying, it's consistent, it's repeated, it's always high. So a single incident, because I deal with all the time when parents come to us. But I think like anything, whether it's an academic or bullying or whatever, it's ongoing professional learning for all parties involved, administrators, teachers, parents, students, everybody. I'll be honest with you, a prime example is, it's unfortunate right now, it always seems to be the last couple of years that the season where kids will call in these anonymous threats and they're not, accurate, and then the police show up at their house, they get arrested, and then, because we have to take every threat as a serious threat. So again, we have to work with everybody. So I encourage that feedback, but there will be times, and just be honest with you, where parents will not like the responses that we give, especially in discipline issues or evaluation issues for employees, because we legally cannot share certain things. So one of the biggest things I have to deal with is when a parent comes to me and says, tell me what happened with that kid. He got in a fight with my kid, and I want to know exactly what happened. I cannot share that with you, you know. And so, and this is where that trust has to come in. Now, if I have a big problem in my school, then you need to hold me accountable, and there's powers to do that. There's a lot of checks and balances. But always give that feedback, because we have to do it a million times. It's ongoing, recursive, all the time. Because it's, we want to get rid of it, and that's a great goal to have, but we're humans. And humans are frail and make mistakes on an ongoing basis. So we have to continue to work on that. But I know we had another question.
We have one right here, Chris.
Okay.
Well, the main person that is involved in this conversation is our children, it's the students. And that's the focal cord of the whole conversation here. That this child is a victim. And he's the one going through it, getting all these, feeling all these. And us parents, we're trying to find answers to this problem. And communication is a key thing with all of you staff and members of the education board. The teachers, staff, and everything, principal, vice principal, and all that. So when there's an issue, don't take it lightly. I mean, it's an issue. Yep. And when it involves your child, I have the right to come and talk to you about it. And with all due respect, you don't have time. I keep calling, no answer. Okay, then I finally make the time to come to your office, and then still, I don't get anything. So where do I go? So it has to be exercised, the disciplinary of the school guidelines and everything. And also communication is a key thing with the parents at all times. Right. And you as a staff, as superiors, authorities in the school district, when it doesn't get through the principal, vice principal, we bring it to you, right. The school district, which is the superintendent, and you guys have to listen. Sometimes some parents get nowhere because, it's right. Not just me. It's not about me because right. I know I get to it. But other parents that I hear, I don't know what to do, where to go. I keep on coming, keep bringing up the topic, and they say this, they say that, go here. So it's very important.
Right.
That
There's
we
a process
have to
and protocol for all parents to follow.
And come together
right.
as one, as a team.
Right.
Good morning. Just really briefly, there was 2 incidents that occurred with my children recently. I'm pretty well known on campus because I've been chosen to be part of the PTA and stuff like that. And I'm very privileged and happy that in my situations, the approach was to simply communicate, express my expectations, and do the follow through, for example, as a VIP. So I've been a VIP for over 10 years in Long Beach Unified. I'm a big observer of behavior of children, because sometimes children need examples around them to how to conduct themselves. It was as little as a little apology. When we make a mistake, we look for someone to take accountability and to say the powerful words of, I'm sorry. So those 2 cases, one was a letter of apology from the perpetrator, and the other one was an apology to my son in front of the principal. And it got handled. And then we move forward. So I think as parents, we're just simply looking for that accountability. But we are also a factor that needs to be part of the formula to improve the schools. We can be very vocal, but if we don't apply that vocal to action, it could be very frustrating. But again, in my situations recently, both results were very effective. It's very difficult, because most parents here are here because we want to raise kids in a responsible manner, but not all parents have the time or the ability or the know-how. That's why I'm very happy that this is happening. Following up, however, Hoover. Thank you so much, because we've been advocating for a long time. How are we going to reach those parents that need these type of tools in order to be effective parents. How are we reaching those parents? That's what I want to know.
I don't know if you're familiar that they have a community center that is partnered with us through YMCA, and they work with all that area, not only with Bobby Smith. So Brenda, that is in charge of that community center, they already have those parents that need the help coming in daily basis, not only about school problems, also about, can you read these letters from the insurance because I don't know what they're saying, even though it's in Spanish, even though it's in Khmer, can you help me? So that's why we're partnering with Bobby Smith, because they already have worked a lot with that community. And Hoover, because it gives the access to the east side of town, and they already are working also in some workshops with the parents, especially on Wednesdays. So that's why we kind of target these two areas, and we're doing testing, emails. You guys, we hope that you go back to your sites and pass out the word. We also do phone calls, and we're presenting here. We're presenting at DCAC, DLAC, all our forums where we have parents, we're presenting, and I work with nonprofit organizations in Long Beach, especially with the Latino actions, and I'm also sending our flyers so that they can get this and in their own language.
And the other part that we do we have another office called the Office of Student Support Services, and they usually work with our students who are struggling the most in behavior, to be very honest with you. And almost in every case, there is recommendations for parents to get the support they need so that they can be a parent who can help their child, whatever those issues happen to be. And so there's a lot of activities that go on to support that. Will we be successful in getting every parent there that we would love to get there? No. But we want to encourage and do that. But there are many things that are what I'm going to call helping those individuals who are struggling the most for whatever reason and parenting with their young people. So there's a lot of good support, whether it be through the Guidance Center or through a program called the Parent Project or others. So we have a question.
Quick questions. One is, how is this being communicated to parents? Is this being sent to the office manager, the principals at school, and then being dispersed to the parents, 1, and 2, and the reason why I ask is because some of the documentation that's being given here, while I may present it to our school site council and so on, it doesn't actually get dispersed into backpack mail or into the classrooms at one of the schools that I represent. And so the second question was going to be, to piggyback on that, is do the principals know about Parent University? Because our school site council last year, I wasn't a part of, but they approved, I think, about $10,000 of some of these similar classes by YMCA for parents, which, it can be twofold. If the school's already doing this, I don't see why the school should spend the $10,000 to piggyback, to add that. So I'm just curious to know if principals are aware of these kinds of tools.
So we are presenting to the principals these workshops in a few weeks. We presented to principals in the summer about the different types of workshops that we provide. I'm kind of going with question number 2, I just realized. So to get to your second question, partnerships with YMCA, we work with YMCA also. They offer kind of a weekly ongoing series, and so Parent University does kind of work in conjunction and in addition to. So a lot of schools do hire the YMCA series, and we're aware of those workshops, and we encourage that. And we have it in our catalog, in fact. The YMCA is listed as a community partner that we encourage schools to partner up with for some workshops. So how is this getting out? We are sending out school messengers weekly, so you will get a phone call, email, and a text from us. So we're going to start sending them in a couple weeks, and then on every Sunday night, we'll give information about the workshop that's coming up. So everybody in the district will get a phone call, email, and text on a Sunday, reminding them of the 3 workshops we have coming up for that week. So that's going out school-wide. We are also giving all this email, the flyers to all the counselors in all of the elementary schools and the middle schools in our district. So we're getting the word out there. So you should get it, like I said, you should maybe get it from your school site, but if not your school site, you will get it through School Messenger.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, we got one over here. Right over here, and then over there.
So my last comment on this topic. First of all, thank you to the parents who talked about bullying. And I actually agree with Dr. Steinhauser as well. There's very specific definitions and legalistic definitions, but I think that also goes to training. That parents need to know, hey, this is a definition. And just in terms of, bullying is systematic, the challenge can be, well, and if I could just say this first, there's been a lot of research lately that our schools have implemented these programs, but in Dr. Steinhauser, you probably know this, but we haven't necessarily done a good job of making sure that these programs are working. They're like, and every school is supposed to keep track of bullying at their school. I don't know if that's happening. But again, say if your child is being bullied, they might be bullied by one person, and then a different person, and then a different person. So that might have been 5 times that your child has been bullied, but by different people. And you might have called every time. So it is important as a parent to chart that. Because sometimes you hear, oh, you didn't call it, but if you have that document, like, no, wait, I called on this date, here was the response. I called on this date, I got this response. So the school can't say, oh, y'all never told us.
We have one more question over here.
Where is it?
Right here.
Not really. I just wondered if this was the Parent University page, if we could get it in PDF. It's not on the superintendent forum. That would be great, because we can distribute too if it's in PDF to get on our websites, on PTA and through our newsletters, and we would love to help you do that if we had the PDF.
Your catalog.
The links will also be on our Parent University homepage. So if you go to lbschools.net, there is a button that links to Parent University, and you can get there our catalog, and you can also, these worksheets are going, or the flyers are going up this week along with the calendar. We also have some online workshops, and so if people are not able to come to some of these workshops, we have some. It's the same slide deck available online. So we're working to get more of those up and on the website also. So thank you for all of your enthusiasm on this too. Now I'm almost nervous.
One more question, and we'll go. Go ahead.
Yes.
Because we have to vote.
Yes, I know.
No, you're right. It's good, because we can't pass that one up.
Mi pregunta sería la siguiente. ¿Realmente los directores saben lo importante es que nos informen a nosotros como padres y que nos acepten en las escuelas para estar informados de todo lo que pasa?
My question is, do principals really know that they should inform us as parents, and that it's important for us for them to accept us as school to be informed of everything that's going on?
Yes.
Entiendo que a veces, por ejemplo, somos demasiados padres en las escuelas, pero hay veces que hay directores que no les gustan la presencia de los padres, y nosotros estamos ahí no por ellos, porque tenemos a veces 700 niños en una escuela y no hay quien abogue por ellos.
I understand that there's a lot of parents, and principals don't like the presence of a lot of parents in the schools, but we have about 700 students, and sometimes there's no one to advocate for these students.
The principals aren't all want parents on their campus, but sometimes what and I know what you're referring to is that parents have to follow certain procedures at schools. So, for example, I'll give you a great example. We had a parent room at one of the schools, and people were just free-flowing, and for safety reasons, we have to know when people are there. So every school wants parents, every school wants to encourage those things, but the complaints that I get sometimes, that parents feel constrained, or they don't like a certain procedure that's being, so under one principal they may have done a procedure, then they get a new principal, and that principal does a different procedure. So that sometimes is a problem. But I would say from the board down, we all encourage parental involvement. And because, again, we can't do our job without parents, you know. And, you know, you heard so many of the employees here, including myself, where kids went to school here, we were parents. So we had dual roles, you know. So the issue, though, is that we all have to work together on whatever that challenge is. And Karen, you know, what I'm going to share is that remember that, for example, take the mental health topic that we were talking about. So remember, we actually have that, and I know Lori's loaded it into the Google Classroom, the special request form. Remember, parents can ask for that, and parents have asked me for that. So, for example, you could at school A.
I asked for it, and then she handed out a flyer with it on there.
So here's an example. Yeah, but here's an example. No, so Sheila Saint, is that her name? Shyla Saint, for example, she's got big-time business in the school district because multiple schools have used her as a singleton or as well as a collective of schools. So you may want to bring in a mental health provider to talk about topic X, and it could be at your particular school or it could be at collective schools, like 3 or 4 schools. So I highly encourage you, and we'll upload that document again, because we want, so if I'm the individual who's being seen as the guy who's holding back and not being supportive, well, there's another way to climb to the top of the mountain, okay? So the kids do it all the time. Kids email me all the time. I mean, and ask for money, and 90% of the time I give it to them because, and parents do the same. So if it's for the right reason, for the right topic, for the thing we need to do, we're going to do it. I mean, prime example, Poly robotics team 2 years ago challenged me, and I challenged them back. We gave them a grant, and now they're going to the world competition. So, but kids driving the force to say, hey, Mr. Superintendent, can you do X, Y, and Z? And I said, yes, if you do A, B, and C. And I just gave them it to them, and they took off. And so we do a lot of that. So I encourage you, as well as any other parent, to do that. So we do need to stop, though, because we have to vote. Let's give them a round of applause. Now, this is going to get a little crazy. So I need the folks on here, if you could help me, because we're going to move away from the wall. Megan and Diana, if you could move away from the wall. Sorry. Okay, here's going to go. Can I borrow yours? Yes. Thank you. Everybody hold out your dots. Good job. I like the way this table is following directions. I may give you more dots. Good job. I have her dots. So that's okay. We'll give you extra dots. So, and you also have this document. Lori has done a great job and has posted this document in posters around the room. So for example, where it says number one corresponds over here. So it says page 1, page 2, that's the same that you have right here. So on this side, it goes from 1 all the way this side to 7. Over here, it starts with 1 and goes to 7. So not yet. It's the same thing. So not yet. This is just like a classroom. I'm being observed to see if I have classroom management. We'll see what my evaluation will be. So everyone, eyes up here. Yeah, come on, guys. Good job. Eyes up here. So this side of the room is going to use these posters. This side of the room is going to use these posters. When you have your 5 dots, and this person has already identified the one she wants. Some people have done that. Here's the rule. You could take all 5 dots and put them on one item, or you could take them to 5 items, to 4 items, however you choose to. So if I wanted to, I could go to number 1 and put all 5 dots here, because in my opinion, this is the most important thing I want to be achieved. Because remember what's going to happen, there's going to be a couple hundred parents who are going to look at these posters. We're going to collect all the data, and then later this year we're going to present to the board, if we have additional money, what are the recommendations by priority of this collective parents? So let's say 300 parents vote, and we have 5 items, Then the board could say, you know what? We're gonna fund these 5 items, or we're going to fund this item, that item, that item. Because remember, the board's going to make that recommendation. I mean, that they're going to do the approval. We're going to provide them the data. Before you vote, this is something I would do, okay? You know how conservative I am when it comes to money, okay? If there's an item up here, and Karen, you kind of alluded to it. If there's an item up here that really doesn't cost money, but more is of an implementation or superintendent problem, administrative problem, that maybe I need to tell people they have to do A, B, and C, don't vote on that one, okay? Save your dots. Use them wisely. Because in our discussion, there are things, just like what we just talked about with the new parent workshops, that came from the discussions here and other parent groups that you guys told us you want. The digital, and we're going to add mental health. All these things, that's my job to find the money. Don't spend whatever new money we get on those issues, because there are 53 items here. The board's not going to be able to do all 53, but you know what? My job as their superintendent is to find other resources to support other things, okay? Because remember, let's say we get an additional $1 million. We're going to spend $800,000 of it on ongoing things because we want to make sure whatever the board approves lasts for 5 years. So again, starting with number 1 through 7 over this way, and then 1 through 7 over this way. Question of the day, can you use all your dots in one item? Yes. Do you have to vote? Yes. No, it's America. You don't have to vote. It's not Chicago. It's not Chicago. You don't get to vote multiple times. So. Okay, guys, go. Come on, let's go. Come on. I'm going to get written up, guys. Okay, don't do that. I'm going to have to retire today. So I'm going to have to go home and be a permanent babysitter for my grandson. So first of all, before we get on the door prizes, staff is going to tally up and we'll let you know right now what's happening. But remember, the tallies are going to change because we have a couple more 100 other parents who are going to be voting, okay? So come May, I'll bring back to you what the final tallies are. And then just to let you know what's going to happen later in May, we will bring to the board a recommendation list. They won't vote at that time. They'll vote sometime in June for 2 reasons. One is the LCAP is actually up on the website now, because remember the LCAP's a 3-year plan, so it will be posted next week, and it will be up there for many, many months. But we won't know what our exact number of dollars is until probably the end of June, because the governor has to give his new budget. And when he gave his budget in January, he gave a really rosy, nice picture. Well, the revenues of January and December were not good. They were about $3 billion below what he estimated. And what many people don't realize is that this month, about half the money for the state comes in this month. So the state's budget's about $140 billion. So roughly $70 billion comes into the Treasury this month. So we don't know if those lower revenues were just an anomaly. We don't know if it's because of the new tax law. We don't know, because in California, a lot of our money comes from capital gains tax. It's one of our problems that we have in this state. It's not a very stable tax base. So we could end up getting less money in June. There's a thing called the May revise than we thought we were getting in January. So having said that, we will look at this as a living document, so whenever money does come in, we'll be able to move it around. So, but I want to share with you one story before I do the door prizes. Last night, one of the best parts of my jobs is meeting with kids, talking with the kids, and about all kinds of things. So this young lady asked to interview me from Lakewood High School for her research project. She's in a program called AP Research. And so I met with her at Starbucks, and she was doing research on music programs and the positive impact music has on kids academically, socially, and so on. So I asked her, she's a senior. I said, so where are you going to go to school next year? And she goes, I'm going to go to UCLA. And I said, great. I said, what's your major going to be? My major is mathematics, actuarials. And I said, why? And she goes, two things, Mr. Steinhauser. She goes, I love math and I love music. And because of the support that she's had in the system, I know that this is a really growing field because of the health industry and so on. And I said, you're exactly right. We use those individuals all the time to tell us, to tell the board, how much we're going to have to spend for health care, how much insurance we're going to buy, all those things. And she goes, you know what? She goes, I was going to be an accountant. But I thought, why be an accountant when I can go into a growing field where I'm going to be the commodity that people are going to want? I thought, pretty good for an 18-year-old to tell me. So, and it was just really, I went home and told my wife, you know, those are the days you like, hey, I've died and gone to heaven, and it's all good. But I just share that with you because it was a long day yesterday, and it was crazy, and I actually, I had to apologize to her because I was late to the meeting because my other meetings were running over. But there is such great hope in our young people. I don't ever want you to lose face of that. And the other one is, I also want to thank you for always pushing back on us, because that's what we're here for. We're here to support all of you. And I've just finished my 37th year. I can't believe it. I started in, So, started January 4th, 1982 at Roosevelt, and time has flown by. So take time to smell the roses. Cherish every moment, because if you had told me back in January 4th, 1982 that it's gone that fast, I would have said you've lost your mind. So we have lots of prizes. It's chocolate time. It's not a pound, it's only 12 ounces. Pies. These are really good from Trader Joe's. And I still have tons of Girl Scout cookies. So the next one is 557. You get to come choose. 557. All right. Hey, good job. All right.
This is your tally.
Oh, great.
1 through 5. These are the numbers.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. The next one is 609. 609. All right. Good job. You choose whatever you want. 600. 600. 600. We'll see. 568. 568. 568. You got 568? All right, excellent job. Choose whatever you want. 618. 618. All right. We're sharing the wealth across the table today. Whatever you choose. That's really good pie. 602. 602. All right. Sorry. And 563. 563. All right. Did you get 563? Oh, no. Oh, so. 596. All right.
Thank you. We're going to give you a hug.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye. Is safety and security at K-8 level. And number 27, which is continue to explore programs at sites that address social emotional development. Then the next two, so those both had 15, and then the next two have 9 each, so that's pretty interesting. So the next one is number 9. Courses focused on financial literacy. And then the next one is number 5, which is after-school enrichment programs. And the next one that had number 8 is number 1, support for additional activities at the middle school level. So these, we will add these votes to the votes that we're going to collect and then bring them back to you guys in May so you can see the total thing. And then I will share with you at the other items that we can actually do that don't cost money. So again, thank you. Have a great day, folks. So.